Line's good.
Never on.
Close.
Hard. Hard, please.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close.
The hair high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott not alongside. Believe it or not, Scott isn't at home. I left a message at the beep. He must be out or he'd pick up the phone. Where could he be? Believe it or not, Scott's not home. But that's okay because I'm here with you. A great episode on tap today. You may remember back in the fall, we did an episode with Team Davies, one of the teams at the University of Alberta. We sponsored them this season, among a lot of other sponsors. It takes a lot of money to get a team through a curling season. And you may remember a few weeks ago, we had Adam Nogler on, who was one of the players on that team. He and Zach Davies, the skip, were part of the Canadian men's junior team that participated in the Junior B and the Junior A. So they were juggling both the responsibilities to that team with Johnson Tao and the responsibilities with Team Davies and the University of Alberta. And through the course of the season, Scott and I, we were tracking them and following along with their events. Didn't really do much on the show about it, though. I wanted to try to integrate it a little bit more, but it just kind of got away from us. So I wanted to reach out and check in with the team now that we're into the summer. How did the season go? What were the ups? What were the downs? Certainly when you're a junior team and playing in a lot of men's events, there's going to be some challenges, but there's also going to be some great moments along the way as well, moments of growth and just some great achievement. And we had the opportunity to speak with Zach Davies, the skip of that team, and he talked about it. I think he was very open about how the season went. Ended on a bit of a down point for the team, given some injuries, and we'll talk about that with Zach, that they weren't able to quite meet their goals for the season, which really was focused on the Alberta provincials for juniors, and given the injuries, they weren't at full strength for that. That was really disappointing for the team. But overall, the season had its ups and its downs, as every season does. And I was really excited to hear from Zach, hear his assessment of the season, and see how the team grew over the course of the year, how they grew together, how they grew individually, and where things shape up for next season. So very appreciative to Zach for giving up some of his time to check in with us during this summer season. Very much enjoyed the conversation. Hope you will as well. So here we are catching up with the skip of Team Davies, Zach Davies. All right, and Zach Davies, skip for Team Davies, joins me now. Zach, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing really well. Thanks for taking the time to join us again. Of course, you were on with the whole team back in the fall, and now here we are in the summer doing a bit of a recap of how the season went. So let's start with just broad strokes on how the season went for you guys. When we talked in the fall, you guys laid out your expectations both as a team and then for you, each of you personally, on what you wanted to accomplish during the season. So as you look back on it, how would you summarize the season just in overall terms?
In overall terms, I would say okay.
Okay.
On one hand, we didn't manage to reach a lot of our goals that we set for the season. We didn't do great at provincials, didn't qualify there. So we didn't have a shot at going to nationals. But on the other hand, we were runner up at the XL Cup in Okotoks, which was that was probably the best result of the events we did go in, because this year we focused heavily on men's events. Didn't really do a whole lot of events on the junior side. So I guess looking big picture, we were, for like our overall record, we were a couple games below 500.
Mm-hmm.
But what's crazy is that we started the season with like a 10-game losing streak. Kind of like the Oilers, right? We were like, at the bottom, and then, throughout the year we progressed and we gelled with each other and improved and got some wins. So
Yeah, everyone gets really excited when there's a winning streak at the start of the season, which is all well and good. You want to win every game you play, but you want to grow and get better as the season goes along for sure. So what do you think part of the struggle was for you guys, especially early on when you weren't winning? Or was it more about process for you guys as opposed to result game to game? Like, how do you kind of assess that, especially as the skip and trying to keep everything on track?
Yeah. Obviously, lots of great competition here in Alberta, so it's just tough to win curling games sometimes, especially since it was our first year together as a team and our first year in the U of A program. So we were still kind of sinking into that. And I guess another challenge later on in the year, we actually had to deal with some injuries, which is not very common in the sport of curling, but I don't know. We just got some couple strokes of bad luck. So
Yeah. So what happened there? Because we had Adam on, and he said that both he and Will had to miss the last part of the season with ankle injuries.
this is true.
Yeah.
Sad but true. Yeah. So it was actually looking for a little bit that we weren't even going to go to provincials. Like we were going to have to drop out because you can't really play with two.
Right. Yeah.
So we actually called up Owen Fensky, solid curler here in Alberta, and he was our third man, and he helped us have the opportunity to actually go to provincials, and we picked up a few wins. We actually beat two of the three teams that like went to playoffs at provincials. So
It's pretty good.
But then, yeah, I was just with trying to curl with three. I know Brad Gushu made it happen that one year, but we're not him, So
Yeah, it's a tough path there to go with three for sure. I want to get back a little bit to the schedule because you mentioned that you played in a lot of men's events, and it's sort of well profiled that jump from junior to men's or junior to women's is really hard. It's not like a one step up. It's like a 10 step up going from those levels. So when you were as a team sitting back and setting the schedule, what was the discussion around entering men's events versus entering junior events versus entering collegiate events, all those things that you guys were eligible for? And how did you think about the schedule related to wins and losses as opposed to overall development?
To be honest, I don't recall a meeting about the schedule. I think it was just made for us, and
Okay.
we dove into it and tried to do our best. But I think now, like with this season in mind, we'll do some planning for next season, and we'll probably, have a bigger voice in determining what events we go into and all that. But I think it was just, I guess we had the mindset of, like you said, the men's level of play is huge, and trying to like play against that and see if you could rise to the occasion. And obviously, like there's the saying that you want to like surround yourself like with greatness, so then you become great, kind of thing. So that was good exposure for sure, even though we didn't get a whole lot of wins there.
Oh, for you personally, and again, we did talk to Adam, but you were in a really unique spot that you went and played with Team Tau in the World Juniors and the Bs and the As after you qualified, but you were switching positions to do so. So not only are you integrating into this team that's different, you're also changing positions while also still skipping your team going through the season. How was that for you just on a personal level, going between the two teams, changing positions, and preparing for obviously a very important world level event while also working with your guys on your team, on Team Davies, with the goals that you guys had set for yourself in the fall? Like how did you navigate those two very different environments?
Yeah. On a personal level, it was very tough as someone who's pretty much only played back end my entire curling career, with the exception of my first ever year, which I played lead. Yeah, I hadn't really swept a whole lot of rocks. Didn't really have experience there. So probably the biggest part of the challenge was the sweeping aspect, like finding the proper technique and footwork, and then I think the biggest part was the weight judgment and the communication that comes with that. And although I didn't really start out that great, I improved through lots of practice. We did lots of practice and actually practice with Scott Pfeiffer. We brought him in, which helped a lot. And Ben Morin, he plays second for the selects team at the U of A. So he was a front end player, really solid front end player. He actually joined in on those practices and helped mentor me in that role of a second. Gave me lots of tips and advice, which I applied. And yeah, now I'm actually feeling pretty comfortable playing front end, and it's kind of helped, I guess, my future aspirations for curling. I don't feel like I could only be back end. Whenever I graduate from university, I could also join a team and play front end as well. But then I guess on a team level for the junior Bears, that was definitely another obstacle. Besides the injuries, it was another obstacle. Team Canada, even though it was a huge blessing for me and Adam, and it was just really hard having that time away from the junior team, just less practice time with them, less events. So next year we don't have to worry about that. So we go all in on the junior team and win some stuff.
Yeah. You mentioned that you think it makes you more versatile as a player. Certainly I would co-sign on that. Do you think there's a benefit to you as a skip from having gone through that? Even just stupid things of maybe you don't get as frustrated sometimes if there's a missed weight call or something, little things that you think, having not experienced that front end, maybe you can empathize a little bit more with some of the challenges of it. Do you think it helps you in the house having a better understanding of what a front end is doing?
100%. I have so much more empathy for missed weight calls and misjudgments, because holy cow, after being a sweeper myself for that little bit and just being wrong, more often than I, wanted to be, definitely have more sympathy for the guys. But hey, it's okay to be wrong. That's one thing I learned as a sweeper, right? As long as you're communicating the weight, but obviously you want to try to be right.
Ideally, you'd like to be, ideally, for sure. So for you guys, let's sort of go through some of sort of best, worst sort of thing over the course of the season. And let's start with maybe what you guys struggled with the most. What do you think was the biggest struggle, the biggest obstacle that you guys had to overcome as a team?
I think I already said it previously. The big two obstacles that we faced were the injuries and just dealing with Team Canada. Because Team Canada was pretty much the whole year, because we had to train for the Bs in December, and then thankfully we qualified for the As in February. But that means we had to, keep doing more training, more practice, and then the injuries happened in March, I think, just a few weeks before provincials, which is tragic. But I guess part of the game, one thing we struggled was our play with hammer. Just hammer efficiency was too low this year. So we're going to be revolutionizing our play with hammer, All
right.
And try out some different things, bring up our execution, make some shots, call the right shots, and maybe get a couple more deuces and threes and all that. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned that, because we talk about that a lot when we do Briar Scotty's previews. We really do look at that hammer efficiency and where you want it in order to be competitive. And one of the things I would imagine making the jump from junior to men's is that those men's teams are going to be way more precise on doubles, run backs, peels. Getting a good offensive end set up I would imagine be very difficult. So were you guys keeping stats across the season on not just hammer efficiency, but based on opponent too? Did you notice, or even did you anecdotally notice a difference in being able to generate offense against some of the junior teams when you were playing them compared to some of the men's teams?
I'm not sure if we, we could probably find the statistics there, but I think just playing the game seeing the difference. Like the big thing with the men's teams is if you miss, like they'll punish you like pretty much every time, and you'll pay for it. Like one miss could, cost you the end, right? You don't really get a whole lot of favors from the men's teams. And then obviously they're really solid on the come arounds, the freezes, like it's kind of called a Briar setup whenever you got like 4 freezes in a row.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do, and it shrinks the scoring area down and just makes it hard to get in there for a second point.
Did you ever find it like frustrating? Like just how is it in the house where it's hard, you're struggling to generate offense, you're not getting the deuces that you want. I have found over the course of playing, and I've never played at a really high level, but just anecdotally on the ice, it can be really frustrating when you're not generating the offense you want. And again, anecdotally, it feels like younger teams get more impatient quicker and really want to push the envelope. Like, was that something that you guys talked about at all, or that you as a skip noticed for yourself? Like, you really want to go hard all the time, and being patient can be a little frustrating. Is that something for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a struggle I had this year, just being a little too aggressive with my play calling. Like you said, patience is the key. It's a great virtue. Hopefully one I could exercise more next year, let those ends develop and attack when the time is right.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to take the Jason Gunlickson strategy, where if you win 1-0, you won the game. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
But it is hard. Like even again, like I was at the end of the year, like drinking spiel, and we were playing like 2 or 3 blank ends in a row, and the skip said to me, "Hey, we got to get something going. Like we're just blanking." And I said, "Is that bad? Like who cares? Like we got the hammer, we could win. Like what's the big deal?"
Team Botcher made it work, so.
Exactly. It's not always the most fun to watch from a TV standpoint, but
I mean, how they generate those blanks though are pretty cool. Like
sometimes, yeah. Sometimes
it's like, okay, hit, but then sometimes like triple run back, and it's like, whoa, right. All right.
Yeah. There was one a few years ago. I think it was in the bubble Briar. There's 3 stones left, and there were 6 or 7 stones in play. And Botcher says, "This could be a blank." And I'm like, "All right, you guys are playing a different sport than the rest of us at the rec level, for sure." So that was some of the struggles. What was the thing that you guys were really strong at? What was the strength of your team over the course of the season that you really stood out for you?
I think our biggest strength is probably our team communication systems. We take great pride of that. We've been trained well with the U of A here, and it provides a good solid foundation for us. And obviously it gets all the important information flowing, so we can learn throughout the game, kind of evolve with the ice conditions and the rocks and all that. And then, we have pre-shot communication, in-shot communication, post-shot communication. Like, we love talking on the ice, and we find it helps. So the next step is just making sure we apply that info more correctly.
Yeah. How does that, if at all, manifest off the ice? Obviously, yes, you have your systems in place on the ice, but for something like communication, I think I would imagine off ice matters. You want to be around people who, even if I would say that ideally you like, and I would assume the 4 of you guys like each other, but also that you can communicate effectively with, just in general, when you're off the ice sitting around just having social conversation. Like, do you notice that playing with people who you can just sit around and chat with makes on ice communication easier?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Obviously, communication both on and off the ice, really important. And I've definitely grown to consider these guys like some of my best friends. Obviously hanging out with them a lot, and just like even the team BPs, Team Boston Pizza, after events, just hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah, I think because we consider a lot the pro teams when we talk about the teams, right? The pro teams, and a lot of them, if they don't live in the same city now, and they'll fly in and do the event. You guys are in the same city during the school year, which means you're traveling to events together. It's a lot of time in the car, hotel
Yeah.
rooms, like you got a roommate. Like there's a lot of shared time there that if you don't like each other, it's going to be a miserable experience.
Yeah, we like each other, so it's a good experience. The car rides are pretty fun. I'm usually the DJ.
Okay.
So I'm throwing on some absolute bangers.
Yeah. What's your go-to? Yeah. What's your ideal playlist?
Well, I basically play a little bit of everything.
Mm.
Obviously some pop punk in there, some Blink 182, some 41, Weezer.
Jeez.
And shift it to some country, because why not? We're in Alberta.
Sure.
So pretty much everything under the sun. It's kind of funny because Will usually just sleeps through it. He's like a chronic napper, so he just sleeps a lot. Adam's usually the driver, although I guess next year he'll have like more of an alternate role because we're bringing in our new teammate Lucas Sawiak. And then Ronan's he's my third, my right hand man. So gotten to know him. We usually like bunk together for the hotels. It's usually front end and back end, and it's good.
Nice. I mean, some 41, Blink 182, like some 41, Blink 182. Weezer, like these are like 90s, early aughts. Like this is stuff that I grew up with. I don't know how you're stumbling on this stuff. It really took me by surprise there, Zach. Some of those bands, but I like it. That's a good playlist there for you. So let's get into we touched on it a little bit, but the growth of the team, right? This first time the four of you were playing together. How would you assess yourself, say that first game that you played together versus the last game that you played together? Like what was the growth of the team? How did the team change over the course of the year? And what was your overall assessment of the team progression?
I guess starting with the overall assessment, like our team progression was huge. We kind of noted that it was probably like one of our, I guess, biggest wins, so to speak, this season, just improving as the season went on. And it was just like pretty much like two completely different teams. Like at the start of the year, you don't really know these guys you're curling with, like from different provinces, so we're just all trying to make it work. And then slowly but surely over time with just more practice together, you just gel and everything gets more refined, like our mechanics, our communication systems. They're in a good spot now. And I think at the start of the year, just our execution was not where it had to be. Like missed shots all throughout the lineup. I'd be missing a lot of draws, giving up lots of steals. But as the season went on, we just started passing the baton, making more shots, and playing better ends. Yeah.
So looking back on the season, we'll end on good things. So, what was the most disappointing moment for you guys as a team? The thing that really stood out for you, whether it's a game, a specific shot, or just an overall trend. Like, what was the thing that you were the most disappointed by over the course of the year?
To be honest, I was probably most disappointed about the injuries.
Yeah, that's fair.
They cannot come at like a worse time in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's honestly crazy how that panned out, especially since with Team Canada, we didn't really play a whole lot of events together this year, and provincials was going to be like our event, right? And like just to have that taken away was pretty devastating. Obviously there's not much you could do. Just try to like be safer. I don't know. Take less risks or something, but feels bad.
And how much for you in terms of things, again, we'll end on good things, I promise, but in terms of struggle and challenges that you would face, the balance of obviously you had the two teams going, but also being a student and the challenge of keeping up with courses, especially when you're missing so much time, as we talked with Adam, the junior Bs were during exams and the junior As were during midterms. So not ideal times to be out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find that you were able to balance the academic side and the reality that you are a student? There are things that need to get done in order to pursue the degree. How did you feel like you managed that? And what were the biggest challenges associated with that?
I think I actually managed it pretty well. I guess first things first, I only took 3 courses per semester rather than like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Means that like I'm taking some courses right now in the spring and summer, but
Summer courses are great. I always love it. Like,
it's worth
it's
it.
great.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
fewer people around campus. It's pretty chill, condensed schedule.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah.
And then, it was just interesting. Yeah. Like you pointed out with finals, while we were in Finland. So I had to defer quite a few of those.
Yeah.
But obviously, you study as much as you can. I think me, Ben, and Johnson, we were actually in the same health ed class.
Oh,
and
okay.
I think, there was like a midterm. It was like online, and we all took it like while we were in Finland, which is pretty funny. So I think Johnson, Ben, they scored better than me, which they're pretty smart guys. So
Back end players on that team, right? They got more time. They're not physically exhausted the way you were, right? You're there sweeping the whole time. They're fresher.
Yeah. That's one other thing about sweeping. I didn't know it is really physically taxing. Holy Toledo. There's some games where, if you're the inside sweeper and then you get into some ends where you only play one turn, over and over. So you're just sweeping back-to-back rocks. But you know what? I love it. It's good cardio. Getting lots of pressure on the broom.
Yeah. How did your hands hold up though? Like those
hands? I had gloves on most of the time, so I didn't really get a whole lot of blisters. Okay. It was usually just the forearms and then the legs. I didn't realize the legs get so sore just with all the kicking and footwork and stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
But it was really fun nonetheless.
Yeah, I think all skips should have this experience so that when they're yelling and screaming at their front end players, they at least can understand what those people are going through. Maybe just more of that. I definitely appreciate that side of it. So I said we're going to end on positive things. So let's get into some of the positive things. For you with Team Davies, let's focus on Team Davies. What was the highlight of the year for you? Let's say in terms of the team, but then you personally, what really were the highlights for you that stood out from this season?
I think as a team, our highlight was getting second place at the XL Cup, because we just solidified ourselves as one of the best junior teams in the province. We're up there with the others. And then I guess individually, probably just kind of upgrading my setup, in my technical stuff in the hack. It's obviously got lots of room for improvement, but the changes that I made this year, I'm feeling more comfortable in the hack and sliding better than I used to. So I think for me personally, that's probably the highlight. Just the great coaching that I have at the U of A, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, you guys do really have some wonderful resources available to you. And you mentioned Scott Pfeiffer and some of the other stuff you had through Curling Canada with the World Juniors this year. So yeah, you did have access to some great resources. And is that something that you take stock of as you go? I think this is one of the hardest things to do, not only in sport, but maybe even in life, is everyone in whatever they're doing, you always want to improve and always want to keep getting better. But it's hard for people sometimes to take note of those little incremental steps of whatever it is you're doing. So, people who talk about running, right? Like you can run a mile and then you can run 2 and then you can run 3. But oftentimes people don't sort of acknowledge that those steps are necessary to continue to grow and get better. It's like that with, I think, everything. So does that something that you do? Like you mentioned your technical setup, do you take note of those little improvements taking stuff from practice into games, or do you wait until the end of the season and try and do an overall assessment? Like how do you kind of keep track of the things that you're consciously working on in areas where you're trying to improve?
Well, yeah, we have just weekly technical practice sessions where we're always just getting those checkups, always refining things. Yeah, just seeing what we can improve. And then there's obviously a bunch of different drills in those technical sessions, like lasers, cones, all that. And then what helps is we actually have kind of like online like training logs where we kind of record what happened in practice so we don't forget it.
Yeah.
So we can just keep applying that throughout the season, which is very beneficial.
All right. Well, we'll get you out of here on this. And again, I said we'll end positive. So what is was your favorite, and I'm going to say this is different from a highlight, just your favorite part of the season, or even just the sport in general? Like, what is it that kept you or keeps you coming back playing with these guys? Like what is it about the team, the sport? Like, what is your favorite part of it?
My favorite part is probably the team shots in game. Like I'm talking about, those big moments where there's lots on the line and everybody's involved. Like the throwers got ice in veins, the sweepers are, pounding it or, judging it cunningly, and the line caller is, obviously calling the line nice, and it all just works out. And yeah, you make the big shot as a team, and especially if it's for the win or something like that. Obviously, that's like a massive, massive highlight.
Well, that's great, man. And congratulations on the season. It was a lot. You played a lot, 2 different teams, big games, and yeah, some unfortunate ending there with the injuries at the provincials. But congratulations on a good season. Do you know when the first time you'll be on the ices for the next season? I know out there it starts pretty early. So do you have a sense of when you're going to be on the ice again?
Yeah, it'll probably be late August with the program, or maybe like early September at the latest. I'm actually I'm working at a curling summer camp, Alberta Rocks. It's in Leduc. That'll be like early to mid August, so it'll be like my first time actually on the ice.
Yeah.
But with the junior bears, probably late August.
Yeah, so not too much time to rest up, but enough time to rest up and get ready for the 2024-2025 season with a new look. As you mentioned, Adam is going to be shifting to a sort of a fifth player type role, bringing in a new player. But it's good that he'll still be around the team, given the rapport that you guys have been able to build. So Zach, we wish you the best for next season. It was a lot of fun to sort of keep tabs on you guys for this season. As I said, congratulations on a wonderful year for you and all the guys. So Zach Davies, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there you have it. My discussion with Zach Davies. Again, I thank him for his time and thank all the members of Team Davies over the course of the season. They were really fun to engage with, work with, and we were very pleased to have contributed in a very small way to the team this season as one of their sponsors. And who knows, we'll maybe do a similar thing again next year. Scott and I had talked for a while. What if we sponsored a junior team? What would that look like? And it really worked out well with Team Davies. That Ronan, the third on that team, just reached out to us. He found us. So something that we were intrigued by, we're talking about, kind of just fell into our laps. So we're appreciative of that and the opportunity to follow them over the course of the season, being a little more invested than with some of the other teams that we follow over the course of the season. So again, thanks to Zach for taking the time to catch us all up on how the season went. So that's going to do it for us this week. If you have not yet, please do subscribe wherever you get your shows, likes, rates, comments, all that good stuff. Helps other people find the show, keeps us growing. Of course, you can head on over to GameOfThronespod.com. All of our past episodes are available there, plus a link to the merch. You can follow us on the socials at Game of Stones Pod, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook, and let us know what you want to hear. Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. We are going to do a bit of a mailbag. We are going to do a mailbag episode at some point over the summer. So any questions you might have or comments that could skew towards a conversation of some kind, do send those in through whatever means is easiest for you. On social media, I'll be honest, I don't check it that much as I used to, but eventually I will look at social media pretty much whenever we have a new episode. I'll see what's going on over there for a few minutes. So if you have a question, you can leave it on social media for us or Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. We love doing these. We don't do them that often. Colin does them more frequently than we do. He's more plugged in on some of the behind the scenes, player movement, that kind of stuff than we are. So we do tend to lean more into the obscure type questions or things that are a little seemingly more random. And that's what I really like when we do the mailbags. But if you do have a topical question, we'll be happy to address that as well. So anything you want to hear in a mailbag episode, please do reach out and we will very gladly answer those questions to the best of our abilities. So if you want to hear that and everything else we got going on over the course of the summer, do subscribe, do follow along, because we are very excited about what we got coming down the pipe. But until then, as always, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.